Hey everybody, just doing a little quick science experiment here. This is a Stalker Run in which the only change I made was to disable the rifle. And I have found out a few interesting things in the process. One is that now that the pistol is in the game, I do get the pistol. That is not disabled by disabling the rifle. What are you guys like coming after me now or something? Well, one of them is. In any case, I'm bringing him closer to me. That was smart. Anyway, how about you go another way? So, I disabled the rifle, and that's the only change I made. And so I ended up I went to now I got him up here by the camp office. I ended up starting.
Never been so hungry in my life.
Well, that's why you went out and grabbed some cattails. So I was up at the clear cut in the middle of heavy fog in the middle of the night. It was pretty disconcerting since it was a random spawn. And I ended up down named Pond, and I went to the hunter's blind, and I got a bow. Let's see, I got a bow, which is now 21%, and one arrow. I think I got one stem there, and an axe, which really set me up well, I must say. The whole point of it, and then I found these. Where did I find these? I think they were trappers in the safe. In any case, and I think this was in the blind as well. But my main point in this was to see if it altered the wolf population, which, as you can see, is definitely not diminished in any way. And if anything, maybe there's a little more than there is in interloper. I guess the main thing was, for me, there's a difference between challenge and fun. There are elements of Stalker that are more fun than Interloper. Do I have anything else to break down that's quick and easy? How much? An hour gives me 4. And anyway, in any case, like I said, I ended up with 2 wolves at trappers that almost got me. I ended up, and it was funny
If I
because
don't rest soon, I'm gonna faint.
you'll be fine. I ended up running up the tree that's over there, you know, pretty much right down from the cave entrance at the ground level, and both the wolves ran there and just kind of paced back and forth at the bottom of the tree limb. So I went out and I don't think I have a torch either.
If you need anything.
I went back and went around the long way and got around them. So there's a couple
Looks
wolves
like it
there.
worked.
Boy, that sounded like you had a whole bunch of enthusiasm going with that. All right. So there's 2 wolves out there. I didn't see the bear. But for me, in many cases, interloper diminishes the wolf spawns by a good bit. Now, of course, that makes sense, right? It's much more. You have less availability to clothing and to items and so on. However, I think the most fun part of the game is the wolf population, the threat. And then, of course, you have Dead Man's Challenge, which isn't a league all by itself because just the environmental hazards themselves can kill you, even without predator threats. So, I suppose, and I did go up and look for the cache, which is not definitive. It's possible that not having the rifle also takes away the caches, or maybe it takes away the weapons cache. and leaves other ones, I'm not sure. These are all things that aren't ever disclosed, you know? So, so I'm not quite sure about. I really, like I said, I really was just interested in what was my wolf population going to look like. So, the wolf population seems to be up there. And, let's see, I've got, pretty decent clothing for, what is it, 3 days, I suppose, right? 2 days. In the morning, it'll be 3 days. But I haven't gone very far, obviously. And I need some torches. No, I didn't want that. But, are you good? You're alright. But I just want to say that I wouldn't necessarily call one level harder, more of a challenge than another, or more fun than another. They each have their own challenges. Ooh, there we go. But, playing Stalker without the rifle is interesting. And now if you notice that if you go into custom, that interloper is right next to the custom setting. So you end up, when you scroll over to custom, you get the interloper settings, and then you can change them from there. You can't do that with Stalker. Now, you can, dial in the equivalent of Stalker, obviously, into custom. And I must say that custom is completely different. Like, if you make a custom interloper setting and and you alter the interloper settings, you're going to get two different results from that. From my experience, anyway. When I did my no tools, no weapons run, the wolf population was very high, and some of the wolves' mechanics were very strange. So I can't really speak to what custom does, because it's pretty odd.
Where can I find something to eat?
Hold on, I'm getting there. So, there are variables. Well, I guess I'm not going to get a well-fed bonus, am I? So there's a bunch of variables there that kind of just can't be accounted for. I don't know what to say to that. And of course, the wolves are your biggest threat and your biggest unknown, because if you're going to go to a new region, a new area, you generally have no idea what you're going to be met with. You can almost guarantee that if you're on Stalker, that you're not going to go to Quonset and find no wolves. You're not going to go to Crumbling Highway and find no wolves. Now, an interloper, it's quite the contrary. You may find no wolves in either of those places. So it's easier and harder. You make a decision to go, and you're hoping that you're going to make it through. Now, if you're equipped and prepared to do so, you got the flare gun or something. Yeah, that's great. But like I said, on Stalker, just knowing that wolves are going to be there doesn't make it any easier when you get there. So, how much do I have? Enough. But it was just kind of a quick video to give, I mean, for the people that play, for the people that played a good bit, they've tried different levels, different settings, and have become acquainted with how. What's up, Carl? Become acquainted with the differences. But for those of you who haven't played much, just to let you know that in fact there are. I probably left a lot of torch. No, this was almost gone anyway. For these you haven't played much, you may think that Interloper is exclusively more difficult, and I would say that's not the case. You can die in Stalker very quickly, whereas an Interloper may give you a pass as far as wildlife, and all you're really dealing with is the harsh environment and the temperatures. So just a little, my thoughts on it, my experiences on what I've experienced for different levels and different settings. So I just wanted to do this because I haven't done it, and it used to be that I assumed that having the rifle in the game or not determined whether you were going to find like hatchets and
food.
knives and such, but that's not the case. I have a hatchet and bow, arrow, and such, so all that's still in the world. Now they may have changed it because the pistol's still in the world and it's a firearm. So obviously they're not related. That was something else I wanted to find out. Stalker, of course, does give you a lot more in loot, but loot does not necessarily mean you're going to survive. If you get attacked by a wolf, you could have tons of loot, and it's not going to matter. You're just as dead, and you can't carry everything with you anyway, so you still have to selectively pick out what you're going to keep and what you're going to leave. Now, as far as in the long haul, yes, Stalker is going to have a higher survivability rate, only in the sense of you got more loot to deal, to have to store, but you could die at any time. So there's no guarantee. For instance, there's a bedroll here. I already have a bedroll in my inventory, but I'm not going to carry around two bedrolls. So, and if I found another bedroll, I'm not going to carry it around. It's 6 cloth, but I'm not going to carry around multiple bedrolls. So, if I found 5 of them, what difference does it make? I'm only going to carry one. And if I leave them somewhere that are miles away, it's not like I have instant access to that bedroll. I can't. There's no fast travel. So, um, can I make a torch? 100%er? I will do that just because. So, there you go. It was just. I'm just gonna do this. I'm gonna travel around off camera, but hopefully I survive. And I'd like to go to Quonset. I want to go to Coastal. I want to look and see. For instance, on my Voyager run and on a custom run, I've seen up to 14 wolves out on the ice. So quite different than say if you win an interloper. And with 14 wolves on the ice, it's not a walking simulator going around coastal highways. So it requires you to still use care and cunning to get around. And if you only have a bow, you only have a bow. The settings in Stalker don't mean you have better bow skills automatically because you're playing Stalker. It's no different. If you play Interloper, you still start at 1. And as far as I know, the progression is identical. I mean, you don't get any buff to how fast you can get these skills up in Stalker. So, in any case, just to say that if you're gonna, skip, if you're gonna jump to Interloper thinking it's gonna be the ultimate challenge, I mean, there is no really ultimate challenge here, other than say Dead Man's. But then again, as far as I'm concerned, if there was a way to get Interloper, and I would say the only way to do this is to change the Stalker settings. If you want to get Interloper with more wolves, you know, but you couldn't. I would say the truest way for me, and I will go back and do this at some point, is to go into Stalker, not into Custom, just in Stalker, put in the equivalent Interloper settings, and see if the wolves are still there. I don't know what's affecting the wolf spawn. Obviously, it's not the rifle availability.
I'd eat anything right about now.
Because I've taken that out, and I've still got more wolves than I typically ever see in Interloper. everywhere I've so far that I've been. So there you go. I didn't want to change, but that just to keep it, you know, predictable as far as what I'm seeing. But you know, I think going in and doing an equivalent, say, Dead Man's Challenge in Stalker, and just taking the rifle out, putting none on, far as uh, condition recovery and so on, and just to see if you get a high wolf spawn, then that would be taking it to a difficulty level that is even greater than the present Dead Man's Challenge under present interloper settings. Because I've seen enough runs, I've done enough runs myself, played enough interloper to know that at this point the wolf populations, even though I've set the spawn rate at very high and I've set it at close, even here when I was down by Forlorn at the transition point, there was a wolf almost 200 yards from me, and even though I was skirting the edge and walking, wasn't running, had no scent on me, he immediately saw me from that distance and came after me. To which, if you didn't know, you can use those places like bridges, not any bridge, but say like the entrance to the gate at the dam, that transition tunnel you can use. If you get right outside of it, he sees you. When you're in the transition tunnel, he can't see you. When there's certain structures, as Turkey has noted, that you're invisible to the wolves. Well, you can stand outside of that, let him come attack you, and on the attack run, just step back into the tunnel, and you'll generate a wolf fear, and he'll run away, which I did. And then I just skirted along the tracks, and he was outside of line of sight, and I got here with no problem. But if you want to avoid wolf attacks without actually engaging, without actually, using a weapon of any type or even a diversion, you can just use wolf fear like that. If you can, or go up on a tree or go over the edge of a rock or break it off somehow. Sometimes successful, sometimes it's not. Depends, and they still may be able to see you and still come after you. But that's pretty much all I was getting at. I just wanted to get an idea of what this was going to look like in a stalker run without the rifle. As I said, custom's going to give you uh, some strange some strange mechanics and occurrences that aren't typical or normal within the other settings. Even if you set them identically to the other settings, I've noticed that you do get a higher wolf population. So uh, I'm assuming that the spawn rates are just those. They're how often they respawn, or how often they may spawn. Like if I go out right now, there was a deer out there, and then he may despawn from this area. I don't know. Or if there's not a deer out there, and then I go out there, boom, he's there. That may have something to do with it. But then, you know, my last Dead Man's Challenge run, I set the wolf spawn rate at very high, yet I didn't see that many wolves. So I'm not quite sure how that works as far as how many wolves and how many places that they typically do spawn that they will be at. So far, I've seen two wolves at trappers, and the one wolf on the tracks this way, down by where the transition point. There was not a wolf close here, and instead there was a deer. Of course, I did not go over toward the dead body across the tracks. Now, that's usually where he hangs out. He may be there. I don't know. I didn't. When I went up to go to the cache, I looked down toward the derailment of the boxcars. I did not see any wolves down there, but usually there's at least one wolf that hangs out there, sometimes two. And then, of course, at the dam, usually on Stalker or Voyager, there's two wolves down there. Now we got the moose. I'm going down that way next, but that's basically what I'm going to do with this. I'm just going to go walk around and try to figure out how many wolves are out there and the areas they generally spawn at. That's my just want to get a feel for that. And to this point, I would say, yeah, the spawn rate is up there, or rather the amount of wolves per each area they typically spawn in is up there. So in any case, I just wanted to do that. Just want to give you
All I can think about is
there's
food.
yeah, I know that's all you ever think about. There's your last cattail. How about that? So I have a broken arrow I just broke down, and I've got some saplings curing. I got some deer hides and gut curing, and some rabbit hides curing at Trappers. And but there's two wolves out there, and there's three wolves in my path basically. If I go the short route, there may be that other wolf. So it's there again. That makes it a whole nother level of difficulty in going where you're going. I have availability of better clothing, but if you get killed by a wolf and you have the best clothing in the game on, it doesn't matter. You're still dead. So, in that sense, it's a beautiful game in that no matter what you do, you can maybe buff yourself against the possibility of dying, but you can't necessarily prevent it just by the loot you find. You can have a better shot at it, but the possibilities, because I had two wolves after me. If I would have got attacked, chances are I got attacked again. You know, so yeah, that's all I was going to say. Is there's really nothing that breaks the game here. Stalker or Interloper both are difficult, and both have their fun factor, difficulty factor, just two different ways. It's like almost like two different games. And then custom, I've played a lot of, but it's quite variable in what it throws at you. So, and I typically tend to see more wildlife, not less. In any case, that's it. I just wanted to kind of go over a little brief thing on these different levels. I mean, Voyager, of course, is going to give you even more loot. So, and the wolf attacks are less severe. That's one thing. In Interloper, the severity level is set to very high. In Stalker, it's high. Now, you could take a Stalker setting and set it to very high. Now, that may be what regulates the amount of wolves. If I could think of any setting, I would say that would be it. Simply because if the wolf severity is very high, then they would diminish it a little bit because, you know, the wolf severity ups your chances of death, so they're going to give you less wolves to be more severe. If you disagree, let me know. I mean, this is all a work in progress. It's all experimentation. That's why I did this run. I didn't try to, you don't want to experiment with your main run because it ends up being deadly, right? Right? He agrees. See, he's hanging on a wall. Thanks for watching. See you back here next time.